They say you don't notice the moment a crack forms in a foundation. Not right away. It's silent, like a whisper behind drywall. You only hear it when everything else around it goes still. That's kind of how it started with us. Me and Ashley. When we met, she was already a mother. Her son, Tyler, was about 11 then. Smart kid, polite, too polite sometimes, like he was constantly trying to keep the peace before anything even went wrong. I figured he got that from his dad being out of the picture. Ashley told me early on that her ex wasn't worth talking about, and I didn't press. I figured I'd be the guy who stayed, who showed her not all men disappear. Naive? Maybe. But when you're in love, you don't see the potholes on the road. You just drive faster. We got married 3 years later. I helped raise Tyler through his awkward teen years. Bought the house. Built a little life. Backyard cookouts. Netflix nights. Family vacations. Nothing extravagant, but solid. Stable. I thought we were the kind of couple people looked at and thought, now they've got it figured out. The shift didn't come like a thunderclap, more like a slow fog that drifted in and stayed. It started small. Tyler came back from college and moved in temporarily, just until he gets on his feet. Fine by me. He was quiet, helped with the yard work, respectful. Sometimes a little too close to his mom, but I chalked it up to being close-knit. Then came the distance. Ashley stopped meeting my eyes at breakfast. Said she was tired. Seemed to always have a reason not to go out when I suggested a date night. Tyler, he started hanging around the house more, even after landing a job across town. I asked her about it once. He's saving money. It's hard out there, she said. I noticed something odd on a Tuesday afternoon when I came home early from work. Ashley's car wasn't in the drive, but Tyler's was. The front door was locked, which was strange because we rarely locked it during the day. I let myself in quietly, didn't want to spook anyone. And it was quiet, too quiet, until I heard movement upstairs. Just footsteps. No voices. Then a door shut. When I called out hello, Ashley called back, from the kitchen. Oh, I didn't hear you come in, she said. But her hair was damp, and she was wearing a bathrobe, which struck me as odd since it was the middle of the day, and she rarely showered that early. Long workout, she said, sipping her tea. Felt good to just relax today. I wanted to believe her. I needed to. But once you hear the crack in the wall, you can't unhear it. That night, Tyler barely spoke. Kept glancing at Ashley like he was waiting for some cue from her. She looked back at him like they shared a secret. Maybe they did. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe I was going crazy. It was the week after that I found the shirt. It was mine, but not where I left it. Found it wadded up behind the dryer. Smelled like her perfume. And sweat. I stood there holding it like it was some ancient artifact. Like it could explain itself if I just turned it over enough times. Ashley noticed me acting quieter. I know she did. She started overcompensating. Extra affectionate. Kissing me more in the mornings. Asking if I needed anything. You've been working hard lately, she said. You okay? Yeah, I lied. I started paying more attention. Installed a small camera by the front porch. Put an old phone in the hallway on silent just to catch any sounds during the day. I even started coming home early on purpose. Every time I expected to find something, they acted normal. Too normal. The kicker came one Saturday afternoon. I was cleaning out the garage when I saw Ashley and Tyler come back from the grocery store, together. That wasn't unusual. What was unusual was the way her hand lingered on his arm just a little too long when they walked in. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering what I was really looking at. A mother and son? Or something I didn't want to name. Some men talk about the moment everything changed. For me, it wasn't a single moment. It was a series of small moments, like dominoes falling in slow motion. But the day I found out, that one's etched in stone. It was a Sunday, one of those slow, cloudy afternoons where even time seems to be dragging its feet. Ashley had said she was going out to have a heart-to-heart with Tyler. He'd been distant, she claimed. I think he's going through something. Let me talk to him, she said, brushing my hand off when I reached for hers. Something about the way she said it made the hairs on my neck stand up. They weren't going out. I knew that. Tyler's car was still in the driveway. She wasn't trying to find him. She was already with him. I waited, quiet as a church mouse. I told her I was going out for groceries, but instead I looped around the block and parked 2 streets over. Walked home. Climbed over the back fence like I was breaking into my own life. The sliding glass door was unlocked. The house was quiet, too quiet. But not in that peaceful way. It was the kind of silence that feels like it's hiding something. And then I heard it. A voice. Hers. Soft. Muffled. Coming from upstairs. I crept up the steps slow, like every creak might wake up a nightmare I wasn't ready to face. I paused at the top, my breath shallow. My heart? Pounding like it wanted out of my chest. The door to the guest room, Tyler's old room, was shut. I put my ear to it. Laughter. Whispering. A sound that didn't belong between a mother and son. Not that kind of sound. I backed away like I'd touched something hot. My first instinct was denial. No. No. That's not what this is. But deep down, the truth was already clawing its way up. I didn't open the door. I couldn't. Instead, I went downstairs, grabbed my keys, and drove to the park. I sat there for 2 hours watching old men play chess, wondering when my life had stopped making sense. When did I become the outsider in my own home? By the time I came back, Ashley was in the kitchen like nothing happened. Making tea. Tyler's car was gone. You were gone a while, she said, without turning around. Had some errands. Drove out a little further than I planned, I said. She turned and smiled like we were still in the world we used to live in. I had a nice talk with Tyler. I think we made some progress. I nodded. Didn't say a word. That night, I set up a camera in the hallway, just outside Tyler's room. I told myself I needed peace of mind, but really, I think I already knew what I was going to see. The footage didn't lie. 2 days later, I watched it back. No sound, just silent betrayal in motion. They waited until late. Midnight. I saw Ashley creep into the room like a teenager sneaking into a boyfriend's house. She didn't knock. She didn't hesitate. She was wearing the same robe I'd seen her in that Tuesday. The one she said she wore after her workout. They stayed in that room for over an hour. When she left, her hair was tousled, and she looked lighter, like a weight had been lifted off her. It dropped squarely onto me. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat on the couch in the dark, my hands folded like I was in church, like I needed divine intervention. But none came. The next morning, I confronted her. We were in the kitchen. She was pouring coffee. I was done pretending. I saw you, I said. My voice was quiet, too quiet. In Tyler's room. She froze. Didn't turn around. Didn't say a word. I set up a camera, I continued. I didn't want to believe what I felt in my gut. But I saw it. Still no reaction. You want to tell me what's going on, Ashley? Finally, she turned. Her face was pale. Her mouth opened, but no words came. It's not what you think, she said, eyes wide. We were just talking. I laughed. A sharp, humorless bark. Talking? At midnight? You in a robe, him shirtless? Do you think I'm blind? Or just stupid? She shook her head. Tears welled up in her eyes. I didn't mean for it to happen. I stared at her. Didn't mean for what to happen, Ashley? She broke. I just wanted to tell him something. Just to share something important. It got out of hand. I leaned on the counter, feeling like gravity itself had turned on me. You cheated on me. With your son. He's not your son, she snapped suddenly, then immediately regretted it. And there it was. The raw, ugly truth, not just about what she'd done, but about how she saw Tyler. How she saw me. I walked out. Drove around until the sun came up. Thought about crashing the car into a tree. Thought about disappearing. But in the end, I came back. I always come back. That's the curse of the loyal man. When I returned, she was gone. No note. No apology. Just gone. I sat on the porch in the cold, clutching my coffee like it was a lifeline. I wasn't ready for revenge. Not yet. But I was done being blind. And the worst part? I wasn't even sure anymore what was worse, being wrong or being right. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. Personally, I think it's more like coffee you left sitting too long, bitter, lukewarm, and hard to swallow, but it still gets the job done if you're tired enough. And man, I was tired. Not just from the nights I spent pacing the living room or watching the same camera footage over and over, hoping maybe I saw it wrong. No, this was deeper. This was soul tired. The kind of tired that makes you rethink every "I love you" you ever gave, wondering if it was ever really received. Ashley didn't come home that night. Or the next. She texted once. Said, I just need time. Please don't hate me. I stared at that message for a long time. Not because I was deciding what to say, but because I was realizing that I didn't owe her a response. Not anymore. I didn't tell anyone. Not at first. You don't exactly shout that kind of thing from the rooftops. Hey everyone, my wife had an affair with her own kid from a previous marriage. Anyone got extra hot dog buns for the cookout? No. You keep it inside. You wear it like a coat that doesn't fit anymore. but I knew I needed to tell someone. So I went to see my friend Carl. Now, Carl isn't the kind of guy who gives long-winded advice or pretends to know how you feel. He's the kind of guy who listens. And that's exactly what I needed. We sat on his back deck, sipping bourbon in the cold, and I laid it all out. Every ugly detail. Every red flag I ignored. Every bit of humiliation I'd swallowed. He didn't say much. Just nodded. After a long silence, he finally said, "You know you gotta get even, right?" I shook my head. "I don't even know what that would look like, Carl. This isn't just cheating. This is," I trailed off. "Unforgivable," he offered. I nodded. He took a sip and said something that stuck with me. "You don't need to scream. You don't need to break things. What you need is clarity. You need to be so calm it scares her. Be ice cold. Let her wonder what you're planning, even if you ain't planning a thing. That's power, brother." And that's when it clicked. I didn't want a screaming match. I didn't want to torture stuff or post anything online. I wanted her to feel the weight of what she'd done, not because I yelled, but because I didn't have to. So I made a list. 1. See a lawyer. 2. Get a private investigator. 3. Make sure I'm legally covered. 4. Control the narrative. She wanted to wreck my life in secret? Fine. I'd reclaim it in public, but smartly. Quietly. I met with a lawyer that Thursday. Her name was Dana. Sharp as a tack. Wore her hair pulled back like she meant business, and she did. "Do you have evidence?" she asked. I slid the USB across her desk. She plugged it in. Watched about 10 seconds of hallway footage before her eyebrows shot up. "That'll do," she said. This is going to be messy, but we'll make it clean for you. We talked about the options. No-fault divorce wouldn't cut it. Not with something this explosive. She'd file under marital misconduct. A nice legal term for you blew up your vows and then lied about the fire. I asked about her chances of fighting it. She shook her head. "If she pushes back, we subpoena her son. Or we settle quietly. But either way, you hold the cards." It was strange, but I didn't feel victorious. Just resolved. That weekend, I cleaned the house top to bottom. Not because I was expecting company, but because I needed to scrub the memory of her out of every corner. I put her things in boxes. Not out of spite. Just necessity. I left them in the garage, labeled Ashley, keep or trash. That felt like her life in a nutshell. She came back on Monday. Let herself in like nothing happened. I was in the kitchen, making eggs. She walked in, slow and hesitant. "Hey." I didn't turn around. Just flipped the egg. "You hungry?" "No." I plated the egg, sat down, and ate in silence. She finally broke it. "I know what you saw. And I know you're probably disgusted." I set down my fork and looked at her. "I'm past disgusted," I said. "That ship sailed when you walked into that room." She nodded, eyes full of tears, but I was done falling for that. "I didn't plan it," she said. "I swear to you. I was just trying to talk to him. He's been different. He needed comfort. And I suppose that comfort had to come at midnight, behind a closed door, in your bathrobe?" I asked. She looked away. "I'm not here to scream at you," I said. "I'm not going to make a scene. I'm not even going to ask you to explain the unexplainable." She looked up, confused. "Then what do you want?" "Peace," I said. "You can have your life. But you don't get mine with it." She nodded, tears streaming now. "I talked to a lawyer," I added. "Papers are being drawn up. You'll be served this week." She sank into a chair. "So that's it." "That's it," I said. "You made your choice. This is me making mine." She didn't argue. Didn't beg. Maybe part of her knew she had no defense. Maybe part of her thought she didn't deserve one. As she left, I didn't follow. Just listened to the door click shut. And just like that, the quiet returned. But this time, it wasn't hiding anything. This time, it was mine. It'd be nice to say that after Ashley walked out that morning, the chapter closed. But that's not how life works. Real life doesn't cut to black with some sad piano music playing in the background. It lingers. People come back. Regrets knock. And in my case, so did Tyler. A week after the divorce papers were sent, he showed up. Not at the door. That would have been too civilized. He waited out front, leaning against the hood of his car like he was waiting for a buddy, not the man whose life he'd helped wreck. I stood on the porch for a minute, just staring at him. He gave me that same sheepish look he used to give when he forgot to mow the lawn. As if what they did, could be brushed off like a missed chore. "Can we talk?" he called out. I walked down the steps slowly. "You have 5 minutes," I said. "Make them count." He looked down, shuffling his feet. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry." I waited. Didn't let him off the hook. "I know what happened. It wasn't right. I didn't plan it, man. She came to me crying, and I was messed up about my dad. And you were messed up about your dad. So you slept with your mom? I asked flatly. He winced. It wasn't supposed to be like that. No, I said, stepping closer, my voice quiet but firm. It wasn't supposed to happen at all. And here's the part you're not getting, Tyler. It wasn't just about what you did. It was about what you undid. You didn't just break a marriage. You broke trust. You broke me. He looked like he wanted to cry. I wasn't moved. I didn't come here to defend it, he said. I came here because I need you to know. I looked up to you. You were more of a dad to me than my real one ever was. That's the part that's eating me alive. I swallowed hard. That one landed deeper than I wanted it to. But I wasn't about to hand him forgiveness like a snack from the pantry. I hope it eats at you for a long, long time, I said, stepping back. And when it stops, that's when you know you've learned something. Now get off my property. He nodded. Silent. Then he got in his car and drove off. No yelling. No drama. Just silence. But even silence can hurt. The next few weeks were strangely quiet. I went to work. Came home. Made dinner for one. The house felt emptier than ever, not just because Ashley was gone, but because I'd stripped it of anything that reminded me of her. Family photos? Packed away. Her favorite throw blanket? Donated. The perfume bottle on the sink? Gone. It wasn't bitterness. It was survival. Then came the letter. Handwritten. Left in my mailbox. Marty, please read this. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I need to try. Not for me. For you. I'm seeing a therapist. I've been honest about what happened. About everything. They say I'm dealing with unresolved trauma, but I know that's not an excuse. I know what I did to you, and to myself. I've ruined my life. But I don't want to ruin yours any more than I already have. If you ever want to talk, I'll be at the old lake house this weekend. If not, I'll never bother you again. I promise. Ashley. I read it 3 times. Then I burned it in the fire pit out back. No response was the response. But the story didn't stop there. A week later, I got a visit from her sister, Camille. Now, Camille never liked me much. Said I was too boring for Ashley. That I didn't match her fire. Funny how the ones who crave fire forget it also burns. She showed up at my door holding a pie. Like we were in a Hallmark movie and not the middle of a psychological thriller. Don't worry, it's not poison, she said. Shame, I said. Might have added some flavor. She sighed. Marty, listen. I'm not here to defend what she did. I think it's disgusting. But I also think she's unraveling. Bad. She lost you, and Tyler's basically ghosted her since the papers were served. She didn't lose me, I said. She threw me away. Camille didn't argue. She's not doing well. I thought you should know. I nodded. I do know. And I don't owe her my sympathy. She left the pie. I tossed it in the trash. The hardest part wasn't the anger. It was the grief. Not for her, but for the version of myself that used to believe in her. I'd look in the mirror and see a man I barely recognized. Not because of the lines under my eyes or the weight I'd lost, but because the man I used to be, he was hopeful. He believed in loyalty. He saw the best in people. Now I saw clearly. But here's the thing no one tells you about rock bottom. Once you hit it, it's solid. And you can stand on it. So that's what I did. I stood up, got my hair cut, joined a gym, called up friends I hadn't talked to in years, started building a new life, brick by brick, and not a single one had her name on it. There's something oddly peaceful about cleaning out a garage. It's dusty, thankless work. You spend hours hauling boxes you haven't opened in years, tossing broken tools you swore you'd fix someday, and shaking your head at the 5 nearly empty bottles of WD-40 you somehow accumulated. But when you're picking through the past with calloused hands and a trash bag, you start realizing something. Letting go is a muscle. And like any muscle, the more you use it, the stronger you get. By that point, the divorce had gone public. Our mutual friends were starting to ask questions. The official story? Things didn't work out. The unofficial one? Well, that traveled fast. Funny thing about betrayal, it makes people uncomfortable. They don't know whether to offer support or just avoid you like sadness is contagious. But some people, they step in quietly and do the kind of thing that matters. Like Emily. Emily was someone I hadn't spoken to in years. We dated briefly back in our 20s, before life sent us down different roads. She heard about the split through a friend and texted me out of the blue. Hey, just wanted to say I'm sorry you're going through all that. If you ever need someone to talk to who doesn't want all the details, I'm here. It was the first message in weeks that didn't feel like walking into a courtroom. I didn't respond right away. Didn't want to read too much into it. But a few days later, I was driving past the old bookstore downtown, the one where Emily used to work, and something in me said, why not? We met for coffee. No expectations. No pity. Just two people who knew each other once, catching up. You look the same, she said, smiling. A little tired, maybe. I feel like I've aged a decade in 6 months, I said, and she didn't flinch. She didn't ask about Ashley. Didn't dig for the dirt. Just talked about her garden, her dog, her job at the community center. And for a little while, I remembered what it felt like to be seen without being dissected. When we parted ways, she gave me a hug. Not one of those awkward side hugs either, a real one. Solid. Grounding. That night, I slept better than I had in weeks. Meanwhile, Ashley wasn't doing so well. My lawyer forwarded me a letter she tried to send through her attorney. It was more the same. Regret, therapy updates, I was in a dark place, and so on. This one ended with a new twist. I wish I could take it all back, but I can't. All I can do is try to be a better version of the woman you once loved. Please let me show you that I've changed. I didn't reply. That chapter had closed, and she was still writing in the margins. Then came the fundraiser. The community center, the same one where Emily worked, was hosting a charity event. I didn't want to go at first. I wasn't exactly feeling social. But she invited me, and the idea of being somewhere where no one whispered about my personal life sounded like a gift. So I showed up. Emily introduced me to her coworkers, handed me a drink. We walked through the silent auction like we were in some normal slice of life, the kind I thought I'd lost forever. That's when I saw Camille, Ashley's sister. Same one who showed up with that pity pie a while back. She spotted me, froze, then looked away, like I was the one who should be embarrassed. Emily noticed. Friend of yours? I chuckled. Not even close. Turns out, Camille had started volunteering at the same center a few weeks earlier. Emily had no idea who she was to me, until later that night when Camille tried to bump into us in the parking lot. Marty, she said. Ashley doesn't know I'm here. But you should know, she's still not okay. I just looked at her. And what exactly am I supposed to do with that information, Camille? Bake her cookies. She frowned. You were always cold, you know. Maybe that's why she... Stop right there, I said, voice low but sharp. You don't get to rewrite this story. Not on my driveway, and not in my ears. She made her choice. Tyler made his. I made mine. And I don't need you trying to mend what should stay broken. Emily stepped in then, calm but fierce. He doesn't owe anyone an audience. Not anymore. Camille backed off. Left without another word. Emily didn't ask for details. Didn't need to. Later that night, she said something that stuck with me. You don't have to tell me the whole story. But I can tell you've lived through something that tried to erase you. And I like the version of you that came back. I don't know where this thing with Emily is going. It's not a rebound. It's not revenge. It's something quieter than that. Like walking barefoot on grass after a fire. You're not running, but you're finally moving forward. I still have bad nights. Still have questions with no answers. But I don't check the cameras anymore. I don't wake up dreading the silence. Because now, the silence belongs to me. I just gotten used to mornings again. You know the kind, quiet coffee, no eggshells to walk on, no forced smiles at the breakfast table. Just sunlight, silence, and maybe a message or two from Emily checking in on how my garden was doing. And then, the letter showed up. This one wasn't from Ashley. No handwriting. No perfume. This one came from an office downtown, legal envelope, return address from a family law firm. My name printed clean as day on the front. I opened it slow. Like peeling back a bandage you know is stuck to the wound. Request for deposition in the matter of People versus Tyler H. Russell. I sat down. Apparently, something had happened. A charge. A sealed file. And now they wanted to ask me about Tyler's mental state, home life, and past behavior as his former stepfather. Just when I thought I was done with that chapter, the universe yanked the book back open. I called my lawyer, Dana. Don't say a word to anyone else about this, she said. We'll handle it carefully. But if you testify, it needs to be neutral. Just facts. No emotion. No speculation. Do I have to? They can compel you. Yes. I exhaled. Loud enough she could hear the weariness in it. Look, she said, softer now. I know this isn't fair. But you're not doing this for him. You're doing it for closure. Trust me, you want your piece said on the record. When I showed up for the deposition, Tyler was already in the room. He looked thinner. Hair longer. eyes dimmer. Like life had started cashing the checks he wrote with his poor decisions. He didn't speak. Just looked down. The lawyer asked questions about his upbringing, how we got along, what kind of household we had. I stuck to the facts. I raised him like my own. He was respectful, quiet. Always seemed like he was trying to read the room before he stepped into it. Things changed when he moved back in after college. He and his mom got close. Too close. I didn't elaborate. Didn't need to. The lawyer had the subtext. I watched her jot down notes without looking at me. Afterward, as I was leaving, Tyler caught up to me in the hallway. I didn't think you'd come, he said. I didn't think I'd ever have to see you again, I replied. He nodded like he understood. I didn't hurt anyone, he said. Not physically, anyway. Not the defense I'd go with, I said, walking past him. He didn't follow. And that, honestly, told me he might finally be learning something. A few days later, Emily and I met for dinner. I didn't want to bring it up, but she asked. Not out of curiosity, out of care. I told her everything. No frills. Just truth. When I finished, she sat quiet for a bit, then reached across the table. You keep thinking you're still in the middle of the storm, Marty. But you're not. You're just hearing the echo of thunder that already passed. That hit me square in the chest. Then came the real curveball. Dana called. You're going to want to sit down, she said. That bad. Tyler's not just in legal trouble, she said. Turns out Ashley, she's being evaluated too. Someone submitted an anonymous tip to the district attorney's office. About her relationship with him. About the possibility of coercion. That caught me off guard. Wait, they think she? There's a claim she groomed him. That the relationship may have started long before you suspected. I went cold. You don't have to get involved, she said. But if they pursue charges, your testimony could help confirm the timeline. I sat with that for a long time. Not because I wanted revenge. That part of me was tired. No, I sat with it because I had to ask myself, do I still care enough to help hold her accountable? And the answer, surprisingly, was yes. Not out of anger. Out of principle. You can't just ruin people and walk away clean. Not anymore. I told Emily everything. She asked me one question. Are you doing this to hurt her? Or to heal you? And for the first time since this whole mess began, I answered without hesitation. To heal me. I've never liked courtrooms. Too quiet. Too cold. Smells like old carpet and tension. Everyone dressed too nice for a place where no one really wins. Still, when the subpoena came, I didn't hesitate. I didn't need revenge anymore, but I wasn't about to let the truth collect dust while Ashley tried to repaint the past. Dana met me at the courthouse. Clipboard in hand, dressed like she was on the cover of Justice Weekly. You okay? She asked. I'm here, I said. That's enough for now. The case wasn't about me. Officially, it was a hearing on whether Ashley would face charges related to her relationship with Tyler. Unofficially, it was about control, about power, about everything she thought she could bury. I was just a witness. But that didn't make the seat any less hot when I took the stand. The prosecutor started gently. Mr. Whitmore, can you tell us how long you were married to Ashley Russell? 7 years. And when did Tyler move back into the home? About 4 months before I filed for divorce. And during that time, did you observe any unusual behavior between them? I paused. This was the line. The moment I stopped being just the man she betrayed and started being the man who spoke the truth under oath. Yes, I said. They were unusually close. Inappropriate, even. Physical in ways that didn't make sense between a mother and son. The kind of closeness that makes the hairs on your neck stand up before your brain can explain why. A murmur ran through the courtroom. I kept my eyes on the prosecutor. Not once did I look over at Ashley. She was there, sitting at the defense table, wearing beige like she thought it could make her disappear. When they called her to the stand, I was already excused. But I stayed in the room. I needed to hear what she'd say, not for vindication, for confirmation, that I hadn't imagined all of it. She cried, of course, voice shaking, talked about trauma, about confusion, about blurred lines and emotional dependency. She never denied what happened, but she never said it plainly, either. She danced around words like coercion and control, let them hover in the air like fog. Enough to confuse, not enough to confess. And Tyler? He wasn't there. He declined to testify. The DA said he'd emotionally distanced himself from the process. I couldn't blame him. The judge didn't make a decision that day. Said more review is needed. As I walked out, Ashley's attorney tried to catch me in the hallway. Said Ashley wanted to talk. Just a few minutes. No, I said. She had years to talk. I'm not interested in what's left. That night, I went home, took off my jacket, and stood in front of the mirror. I looked tired, but not hollow. You know what I saw? A man who finally looked like he believed himself again. It had been so long since I trusted my own judgment, my own instincts. I'd second-guessed everything. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe I was imagining things. Maybe I wasn't enough. But no, I was right. And that, my friend, is more powerful than any apology you'll never get. Emily came by that weekend. She brought chili. Real, homemade, slow-cooked chili, the kind that hugs your ribs on a cold night. We ate in the den. No music. No TV. Just quiet conversation between two people learning how to be comfortable with life after the storm. I told her about court. About Ashley. About what I said on the stand. You feel any better? She asked. I feel like I finally got to say my part out loud. Like I stopped being the silent victim in someone else's twisted story. She reached for my hand. You're not a victim. Not anymore. I didn't say anything. Just nodded. She was right. The next morning, I got a letter. From Tyler. Typed. Neat. Straightforward. Marty. I know I've lost the right to call you anything else, but I wanted to thank you for not burying me in that courtroom. You could have. You didn't. I know it doesn't make up for anything, but I'm in therapy now. Real therapy. The hard kind. I'm staying away, like you asked. But if you ever want to talk, even just once, I'm here. I'm sorry. Tyler. I folded the letter and put it in the drawer. Didn't throw it away. Didn't reply, either. Some things don't need immediate decisions. It's funny how silence can mean two very different things. For months, silence was something I dreaded. It meant Ashley was in her own world, hiding things. It meant I was left alone with questions that didn't have clean answers. But now, silence was becoming peace. Not absence. Not loneliness. Just quiet that didn't carry a threat. Emily and I were spending more time together. Not every day, not even every week. But when we did, it felt natural. No heavy expectations. No pressure. She didn't ask me to be anything but myself, and after what I'd been through, that alone felt revolutionary. One Saturday morning, we were sitting on my porch. She had a coffee in hand. I had my old flannel blanket draped over my lap, and we were watching a squirrel try to carry an entire slice of pizza up a tree like it had rent due. I think he's got more determination than I did last year, I said, sipping my coffee. Emily smiled. You're selling yourself short. You've made it through something most people wouldn't recover from. I thought about that. She wasn't wrong. But the part she didn't see, the part one didn't show many people, was that I still flinched sometimes. Not outwardly, but emotionally. Like if something felt too good, I braced for it to be taken away. You trust people easily? I asked, without looking at her. Not anymore, she said. But I still believe in people. That's different. How so? Belief is hope. Trust is a transaction. One you earn. Hope's just something you carry. That one sat with me for a while. A week later, I found out that the charges against Ashley had been dismissed. No criminal record. No time served. Insufficient evidence, the DA said. Apparently, the case needed Tyler to testify. He didn't. Without his statement, everything was considered too murky. I wasn't surprised. Just disappointed in that quiet, resigned way you get when justice feels optional. Then came the voicemail. Ashley. Again. Marty, I heard you testified. I heard you were calm, respectful. I wanted to say thank you. I don't know who I am anymore. Maybe I never did. I'm not asking for a second chance. I miss who we were. And I hope, someday, you'll remember something good about me. I deleted it. Not out of anger. Just necessity. I do remember something good about her. It just doesn't cancel out what came after. Then came the curveball I didn't see coming. Emily invited me to a family dinner. Not hers, mine. My sister had been inviting me for months. I kept dodging it, not because I didn't love her, but because I didn't want to be the conversation piece. I didn't want the sideways glances, the forced, so how are you doing, moments. But this time, Emily was invited too. She really wants to meet you, I said, walking with Emily through the farmer's market the day before. Well, she smiled. Guess I should make a good impression then. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just getting out again. This was bringing someone into the world I used to share with Ashley. This was vulnerable. So naturally, I did what any formerly betrayed, emotionally cautious man would do. I panicked a little and considered canceling. Emily noticed. Of course she did. You don't have to take me, she said that night as we sat on the couch, candles flickering. I know, I replied. But I want to. She leaned her head on my shoulder. Then do it scared. But don't do it alone. Dinner went better than expected. My sister took to Emily like she'd known her since high school. My niece asked her about yoga. My brother-in-law offered her a beer like they were teammates at a barbecue. And for the first time in a long time, I looked around the room and felt okay. Not haunted. Not pitted. Just a man among family. When the night wound down, and Emily and I walked out to her car, she turned to me. You've got people, Marty. You never lost them. You just forgot how to let them see you. That one nearly did me in. And just when I thought the ghosts had gone quiet, I got the letter. Again. Ashley. No legal tricks. No begging. Just a handwritten note tucked in the mailbox. I won't contact you again after this. I meant what I said before. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know I've moved out of state. Starting over. I won't be back. Not to that house. Not to that city. Maybe not to that version of myself either. I hope you find peace. I hope you've already found it. Goodbye, Marty. I read it once. Then again. Then I stood on the back porch, let the breeze carry it from my hand, and watched it float down into the fire pit. Not to burn it. Just to leave it behind. It was a Thursday when I got the knock. Not a dramatic bang. Just a steady, patient tapping on the front door, like whoever was on the other side knew they didn't deserve to be there, but showed up anyway. I opened it. And there he was. Tyler. He looked older. Not aged more, humbled. Like life had finally taken the mirror out of his hands and forced him to look. Hey, he said, voice small. I crossed my arms. Didn't expect to see you here. I know, he nodded. Can I come in? I didn't answer right away. My instinct said no. But something in me, some small, stubborn part that still believed in closure, stepped aside and held the door open. He walked in like a man walking through the ashes of a house he helped burn down. I didn't offer coffee. I didn't ask how he was. I just sat across from him and waited. He took a breath. I wanted to tell you in person. I'm leaving the country. That caught me off guard. I got accepted into a grad program in Spain. 6 months from now. Study abroad thing. Counseling and trauma recovery. The irony of that sat in the room like a third chair. You want to be a counselor? I asked, not unkindly, just surprised. Yeah. Ironic, right? He smiled a little. But after everything, I figured the only thing I can do with what I've been through is help someone else not become me. I nodded, still unsure what to make of it. I didn't come here for your blessing, he said quickly. I needed to say thank you. For what? For being better than I deserved. For not dragging my name through the mud in court. For not telling everyone what I did. I let that hang in the air. Why now? I finally asked. He looked me in the eye for the first time since this all started. Because I finally realized that if I left without facing you, I'd be carrying this guilt forever. And I need to leave some of it here. With you. Where it belongs. I looked at him hard. Not with hate. Just clarity. You don't get to leave it with me, I said. That's yours. You carry that. What you left with me. I've already burned. He blinked a few times. Nodded slowly. Took it like a man. Then he reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded envelope. It's a letter I wrote. Not for you. For my future. I sealed it. I'm not opening it until I graduate. To remind me who I never want to be again. He set it on the table. I didn't touch it. I'll be gone in a week, he said, standing. I won't bother you again. He turned to go. But before he reached the door, I said something that surprised even me. Tyler. He stopped. I hope you find peace too. He didn't say anything. Just nodded. And then he was gone. That night, Emily came over. She didn't ask what happened. She didn't need to. But I told her anyway. And when I was done, she took my hand and said, You didn't forgive him. You released him. I shook my head. Not for him. For me. She smiled. Exactly. A few weeks later, we were in the backyard planting tomatoes. Well, she was planting them. I was mostly supervising with a glass of iced tea and giving commentary like an old man on a porch. You gonna dig that trench straighter, or just let nature figure it out? Keep talking, and you're digging the next row, she smirked. That's when she said it. I've been thinking about moving. I paused. Like, where? Nowhere far. Just out of my place. Thought I might want to share a porch with a man who makes good tea and bad jokes. I set my glass down. You sure? I asked. I'm not scared, she said. Are you? I thought about everything I'd been through. The lies. The silence. The betrayal. The courtroom. The healing. The long road back to myself. And then I looked at her. No, I said. I'm ready. I always thought endings had to be loud. People screaming, doors slamming, grand gestures in the rain. That's what the movies teach you, right? But real endings, they're quieter, softer. They slip into your life like a song you forgot you loved until the chorus hits. And this ending? It began with a shelf. Emily and I were setting up her books in the spare bedroom, the one we both pretended wasn't slowly becoming her room. She handed me a worn copy of East of Eden. You ever read it? She asked. Back in high school. Didn't understand half of it. You were probably busy being too handsome to read deeply. I snorted. That's the first time those words have ever been used together in a sentence. She laughed and handed me another. The Art of Letting Go. Now that one, I said, I should have had on my nightstand 2 years ago. You weren't ready then. She was right. Back then, I was still clenching so tight to my anger that I couldn't feel anything else. It was like holding on to broken glass and wondering why I was bleeding. One morning, a letter came. No return address. Just my name. Plain, neat handwriting. Inside was a simple card. One sentence. You didn't deserve what I did. I hope, truly, that you found better, because you were always better than me. Goodbye for real this time. I showed it to Emily. She read it once, then handed it back. You want to keep it? She asked. I looked at the card. No, I said. I want to remember what I felt after reading it. Nothing. Just peace. So we burned it. Right there in the backyard fire pit. Ashes. Just like the marriage. And just like the marriage, I didn't mourn it. I watched the smoke rise, breathed deep, and let it go. That summer, I finally did something I'd been putting off for years. I took a trip. Not to run. Not to clear my head. Just to live. Emily and I packed up the truck and hit the road. Small towns, roadside diners, little bookstores with crooked shelves and cats that acted like they owned the place. We didn't post pictures. Didn't try to prove anything to the world. It was just for us. Quiet. Real. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was rebuilding a life. I had a life. One night, somewhere in the Smoky Mountains, we sat on the porch of our rental cabin, fireflies blinking like little reminders that beauty doesn't shout, it flickers. Emily leaned her head on my shoulder. You think you'll ever tell the whole story? She asked. I already did, I said. She looked up at me, confused. To myself, I said. That's who needed to hear it most. So here it is. The ending. Not the kind where everything's wrapped in a bow. I still have scars. I still flinch at certain memories. But I've got laughter now too. Real laughter. The kind that reaches your chest and echoes out. I've got love again, not the reckless, desperate kind that needs to be chased or fixed. The steady kind. The honest kind. And I've got me. Not the man I was before Ashley. Not the man she broke. But the man I became after. Stronger. Softer. Smarter. Still a little sarcastic. Still quiet in crowds. Still convinced that bourbon and a front porch can fix most things. But more than anything, whole.